Evening, everybody. My name is Neha Dewan, and I'm the National Director for South Asians for Biden. Before we start our program this evening, I would like to share the absolutely devastating news with you that we have just learned that the revered Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has lost her battle with cancer. She was 87 years old, and she passed away this evening. So just take a few moments of silence and may her soul rest in peace. She was appointed by President Clinton in 1993, and over the last few years has been one of the more senior members of the court. But truly, she was known as a champion for gender equality. I can't emphasize this is an absolutely true loss for our country, and we sure hope that she rests in peace. With that, we'd like to begin tonight's program, obviously with a very somber mood. As I mentioned, I'm the National Director for South Asians for Biden, which is a national grassroots organization that is dedicated to the engagement, education, and mobilization of the South Asian community. Currently in 19 chapters in 21 states, and we are doing anything and everything in our power to make sure that VP Biden and Senator Harris are elected to the ticket. We also acknowledged the need that there was one of the things that we absolutely needed to do was identify by region, all of the different communities that make up the South Asian diaspora. And so one of the things that we thought to do was create these national councils. So as you will notice that one of our partners for tonight's events is the Bangladeshis for Biden National Council. Since we are the only South Asian group that is recognized by the Biden campaign, we wanted to make sure that all of our messaging was unique and also triage in a way that affected, say the Bangladeshi community. And so with that, we ended up founding a series of councils, one of which was the Bangladeshis for Biden National Council. And I'd just like to take a moment to share that the national director is Anis Ahmed, who will be joining us and saying a few words. But more importantly, I just want to welcome you this evening. Thank you for being a part of what was promising to be a great panel discussion. This truly is one of the most important elections of our time. And certainly this evening's events make the stakes even higher. So thank you all for joining us on a Friday evening. And I'll turn it over to the National Director for the Bangladeshis for Biden National Council, Anis Ahmed. Thank you so much for being a part of our program.
Thank you, Neha Dehan, for a great leadership. Greetings to all. My name is Anis Ahmed, and I'm the National Director of the Bangladeshis for Biden National Council under the leadership of Neha Dewan, Praveen, and the South Asian Biden team. And senior advisors, Ambassador Osman Siddiqui and Attorney Devan Shah. Thanks to Mr. Ehtisam Chowdhury, Amber Hawk, and Channel 52 to organize this great event today. As you all know, Republican leaderships are pushing immigrants like us back, while the Democrats' leadership bringing us to the front. As a result, we Bangladeshi in the United States have a platform in the 2020 presidential election. It's a great honor and recognition for Bangladeshi community in the United States. We have formed a strong team with state and state directors and leaders from national to state levels to reach out Bangladeshi voters to cast their vote for our great leaders and candidates Biden Harris get elected. We have Bangladeshi origin speakers today who are not only known in the South Asian communities, but also known in all other communities in the nation. And they are Ambassador Osman Siddiqui, Senator Sheikh Rahman, Commissioner Dr. Nina Ahmad, Momita Rahman, Kausar Jamal, Nadia Hassan. We are privileged to hear from them today. So let me turn into Mr. Ehsan, who is the great Bangladeshi young and visionary leader of the next time. Next, thank you. Ehsan, you.
Thank you all for joining us this evening. My name is Intishan Chowdhury. I proudly serve as your part of the national outreach team for South Asians for Biden. I also serve as the borough administrator for the borough of Prospect Park, New Jersey, under the leadership of Mayor Mohammed Ziafullah. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I am privileged to be joined by our partners, Channel 52 Bangla, and when I thank them for hosting us this evening. I'm with my colleague, Commissioner Amber Hawk, who will be running this program this evening. We have a great program lined up for all of you. We thank our special guest, Ambassador M. Osman Siddiq, joining us this evening. We have Senator Sheikh Rahman, Kausar Jamal, Smila Nadia Hussain, Omita Rahman, and Dr. Nina Ahmed. This is an all-star lineup, national Bangladeshi American leaders making a difference in our respective communities in many areas coast to coast in the United States. And we can't wait to hear from them. For those of you watching live on Facebook, feel free to send in your questions, comments, share this great live stream this evening, and tell your friends about it. Tell them to hop on. We'll be here until about 9 p.m. or so. With that being said, I'd like to kick off our program by welcoming none other than our special guest, the Honorable Ambassador M. Osman Siddiq. For those of you that don't know, Mr. Ambassador M. Osman Siddiq is America's first Muslim ambassador and chief of mission. Born in East Pakistan, Ambassador Siddiq was witness to the violent birth of a new country as East Pakistan became Bangladesh. Seeking the promise and opportunity of the United States, he left Bangladesh to complete his academic studies at Indiana University in the heartland of America. In 1999, President Clinton appointed Siddiq as ambassador to Fiji, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Nauru. Following the 2000 Fijian parliamentary coup, Ambassador Siddiq played a critical role in the restoration of democracy and rehabilitation of that country. With his wife, Catherine, Siddiq lives in McLean, Virginia, where he remains intricately involved in his political, economic, and social discourse of our nation. As a part of the president's cabinet, Ambassador Siddiq was honored to accompany the first visit by any U.S. president to our beautiful country, Bangladesh. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't done so already, Ambassador Siddiq just released a book, Leaps of Faith, that chronicles his life, his struggles, and successes in the United States on his journey to becoming the ambassador. And it's a great read. I picked up a copy. I absolutely love the book. And it's great to see someone like himself paving the way for many of us to be in the positions that we are today. With that being said, I'd like to welcome Ambassador Siddiq to share a few opening remarks of this program before we ask him a question.
Thank you, Intishan, for your kind and most gracious comments. I would be remiss if I don't say a few words about you, Intishan. You are a trailblazer in the Bangladeshi, especially in the young Bangladeshi community. You became a business administrator of a borough in New Jersey, Pleasant Park, at the age of 22. In the meantime, you completed your master's in public administration from Rutgers. You are involved in the South Asians for Biden in a very pivotal way. And you are a sought-after media personalities in North America. Thank you for organizing this. I'm honored. I'm honored to be part of this group. What I'd like to say is perhaps talk about how my background as a Bangladeshi American fits in what's going on today in the political realm. Of course, I will bring the foreign policy aspect of what's going on, along with what we can achieve in the next 45 days. Perhaps most of you know that United States ambassadors are the personal representative of the president and the commander-in-chief, unlike ambassadors or high commissioners from different other countries, which means that ambassadors are really the advocate and the face of the president that they serve in the respective destinations and the postings. And you can imagine that in this tumultuous 3.5 years we had at the State Department, the tough job that U.S. ambassadors are facing in propagating, in executing foreign policy, because it's a bunch of confusion. It's a nightmare. And two of our finest professional ambassadors have resigned in disgust, and they are John Feely, who was our ambassador in Panama, and James Melvin, who was our ambassador in Estonia. The world is looking at us, and the world has quite a poor estimation of Trump administration, especially his foreign policy. You don't have to go too far. I don't have to go too far to explain this. But let me bring to you what Pew Research. Pew Research is a very respected, independent think tank, nonpartisan, and they just came out with the finding that of the 34 countries that they polled, the approval rating for Trump's foreign policy is only 29%. And during this particular time, during the Obama-Biden administration, the rating was 64%. 25% of our European allies, only 25% of our European allies approve of what Donald Trump is doing. Can you imagine when the USMCA, that is United States, Mexico, Canada agreement was signed here, one of the key partners, Canada, Justin Trudeau, decided not to come. And this is truly indicative of how, what kind of respectability we now command. If Joe Biden is elected, which I'm hoping that he will be, he has laid out a very clear vision for his foreign policy. He has said that he's going to strengthen NATO again, and he will be probably in the driver's seat. He has said that he will rejoin WTO, World Health Organization. And in view of what's going on with the pandemic, it was foolish for us not to be part of that organization in terms of implementing new policies and vaccines. And also, he has said that that the United States will rejoin the Paris Climate Accord. You can see what the devastation of climate is doing today: the bushfires, the forest fires in California, the hurricanes, the tsunamis. The climate issue is a real issue, and you cannot be an ostrich and stick your head in the sand. So Biden has said basically that he's going to go and bring out the soul of this nation. And we all understand what he says when he was a senator, a vice president. So what he says, he means, and what he means, what he says. Now, I'm going to give you a little perspective of what foreign policy, why American leadership is vital in the formation and execution of our foreign policy. And this perspective is going to come a little bit from my experience. I served as ambassador. I was appointed by President Clinton. And of course, many of you may know that I was reappointed by President George W. Bush. And for whatever reason, I'll tell you why I was reappointed. So I'm going to just give you a reflection of how presidential, of how a president can influence world issues in a very positive way. While I was there, Fiji had the unfortunate distinction of having a coup. Its democratically elected government was overthrown by a paramilitary group, and the reason was basically on race line. When President Clinton heard this, I mean, I could almost hear his anger at this happening in a country like Fiji, especially because of race issues. When it came to race, he had zero tolerance, and he expressed that to me through his National Security Council, to the State Department, and I went up out to make sure that democratic governance is restored and people's right, whether they are Indo-Fijians or ethnic Fijians, are honored. And I mentioned to you, I served under President Bush also. And the reason why my term was extended was when President Clinton left, all political ambassadors leave. I was asked to stay because to continue this work. Another incident that I would like to say is our First Amendment. During the coup, I was told that one of our American journalists is about to be taken hostage by the coup leaders. First Amendment is a very important amendment in our Constitution and in our way of life. Press freedom, freedom of speech is paramount. When I heard this, I sent my Deputy Chief of Mission over there, Ron McMullen, to make sure that this American journalist, and along with other journalists, are released right away. If not, hell is going to break loose. Within 20 minutes, our American journalist walked out of custody. Today, President Trump calls the free press the enemy of the state. He calls objective readings and objective information fake news. I wonder if I was there today, could I have taken that bold stand against the coup leaders to release that American journalist? And if I did, would they listen to me? I don't think so. Another quick incident, and I'll be brief. Intishan mentioned that I was honored and humbled to be included in President Clinton's state visit to India and Bangladesh. And I was with him when we landed in Dhaka. The Prime Minister, President of Bangladesh, was there. We quickly went for a press conference, open-air press conference in front of the Parliament building. And one of the questions that was asked President Clinton by one of the journalists was, at that time, there were about several thousand Bangladeshis in limbo. They did not have their documentation perfected. Almost they were looking for amnesty and other kind of undertaking by the government. When a question was asked to President Clinton that, Mr. President, why don't you make this visit of yours momentous by announcing that you'll grant blanket amnesty to all Bangladeshis who are seeking for permanent residency over there? The president looked at me, and then he said, that, look, I'm going to follow the laws of my country. However, let me tell you something. Bangladeshi Americans are doing very well in America. They are doing extremely well. With me today is Osman Siddiq. He is my ambassador to Fiji. He's a Bangladeshi-born American. So I tell you that I will do whatever I can to help the issue, but Bangladeshis are doing very, very well. There was a subliminal message here that I would like to share with you. The message is that immigration is the backbone of our country. We come from different parts of the world, and if we work hard, play by the rules, we can be an American worthy of its name. Those 50 stars, the flag, can belong to us as much as it can belong to the President of the United States. This country has been built on the blood, sweat, and tears of immigrants. 100 Nobel Prize winners from the United States are immigrants. Talk about some Bangladeshi famous immigrant. Fazlur Rahman Khan built and designed the Sears Tower, which at one time was the tallest building in the world. We have people like Jawad Karim. He is the co-founded YouTube. Omar Ishraq is the executive chairman and CEO of Medtronic, one of the Fortune 100 companies. So, looking at the political area, we have Sheikh Abdul Rahman. He's a trailblazer in Georgia. We have Amber Huq, commissioner in the city of Patterson. Intishan Chaudhry, business manager. We are also fielding a lot of Bangladeshi candidates in this election. Nina Ahmed, Dr. Nina Ahmed, a brilliant scientist, former mayor of Pennsylvania, is going to be hopefully the next Auditor General of Pennsylvania if you all work hard to make that happen. She is also a trailblazer, and it'll be a history making in the state of Pennsylvania for a colored woman to attain that goal. Similarly, I think we have Nadia for the school board and others. So what I'm saying is that time is short. We have about 45 days. We have to get mobilized. We cannot take things for granted. We have to work. We have to register. We have to vote. We have to let other people know where to vote, how to vote. And in that respect, quickly, I would like to say is that 9 states today have opened for early voting, including my state of Virginia. If you can vote early, please go and vote early and not wait for November 3rd and be subject to the shenanigans of the Postal Service that Trump is unleashing. So with that said, I'd like to thank everybody and make sure that we all work hard in the next 45 days to make sure that the person that we are going to vote for is going to be the next leader of the free world. He's going to be our next commander-in-chief, and he is going to guide the destiny of our foreign relations with the community of nations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Want to get some time to go.
You're mute.
You're muted, Intishan.
Greetings, everyone. So I
want to thank the ambassador for his comments.
like
I
move on to
would
the
like
speakers.
to move on to the speakers.
Over to my colleagues. Back around
to my
and ask
colleagues.
questions.
Come back around and ask
Amber?
questions.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hi, good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to join you guys on this platform, and trust me, it's such an awesome feeling to see all of the leaders coming and talking from their hearts. So I'm really very honored for that. So and thank you, Ambassador, for acknowledging everything that you did acknowledge, and talking about all the leaders in the future. You're absolutely right. If we work hard, anything is possible. So the next person I'm going to introduce is Sheikh Rahman. Sheikh Rahman's story is immigrant American dream. Sheikh Rahman is the first immigrant ever elected to the Georgia state in 1995 after 14 years process. Rahman worked his way up to leaders to the restaurant industry, from dishwasher to restaurant manager to corporate executive at Pizza Hut. He got his undergrad from University of Georgia. After 2008, Rahman became heavily involved in politics, joined the NAACP, National Action Network, American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, and the Democracy Party of Georgia. In addition to serving as an active member of the Labor, Asian American, and LGBT caucus, he is a super delegate for the state of Georgia. He also serves as an advocate Alliance for the South Asian Community. So thank you so much, Senator Sheikh Rahman, for joining us.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Sheikh Rahman, my question to you is, as a member of Urban Affairs Committee in the Georgia state, you are responsible for addressing transportation, public safety, healthcare, recreation, infrastructure, and economy developing issues that unique, important for the Bangladeshi community. So over the years, many Bangladeshi has migrated to the urban areas, like Atlanta, New York, Detroit, northern New Jersey, Dallas, Pennsylvania, Los Angeles, and many others. So my question to you is that, as a senator legislator, please share your thoughts on the challenges communities of the color such as Bangladeshi often face living in these urban centers, and now Biden's plans for investing on our communities. So, which is like 640 billion over 10 years in terms of creating affordable and accessible housing located near good schools with a reasonable commute and, to their jobs and their school and sustainability. So what is the plan of Biden that that would be able to help our community in that way?
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm honored and excited to be with you all here, with those of you are with me and who are watching online. I hope you're all excited as I am. We may not be present in person, but we're in spirit. Now let's come to your great question. Yes, I serve at the Urban Affairs Committee, but I also serve for the other very important committees, including government oversight, special judiciary, state properties and institution, and most importantly, Agriculture Affairs Committee. As you may not know, that Georgia's biggest economy still is agriculture. So, as a member of the legislature, I can no longer just think only urban issues. I also have to think about the agriculture and rural issues too. Whatever decision I make, that affect 11 million Georgian, urban and rural. Being said that, I personally think that 640 billion 10 years plan that Biden has is way too small for this country. We need a modern era Marshall Plan. We need something like HR 6422 bill in Congress right now creates, takes $4 trillion national infrastructure bank with no new federal appropriation, repurposing existing treasury bond into the bank to invest into infrastructure only, so that we don't look like third world country anymore if we come from overseas nowadays. This bank would invest in infrastructure in all area, transportation, including railways, passengers, and high speed, bridges, airport, power sector, modern power grid, renewable energy, wind and solar, water reservoir, drinking water dams, school, new and upgraded old one, hospital, urban and rural area, especially multiple hospital has been closed door in rural Georgia recently. Affordable housing is in urban and rural areas. Both rural broadband issues, access to internet is a big issue in rural and urban areas as well. What we've seen right now during the COVID. I can go on and on. So the bottom line is we need to create millions of good paying jobs across the country in urban and rural area. When you talk about restoring the soul of the nation, you cannot restore just only looking at the urban area and the special interest. You also have to focus on rural area too. I think the most important issue for us right now as a Bangladeshi American is how we elect Joe Biden as our next president. With Kamala Harris on the ticket, we Bangladeshi American can no longer afford to stay on the sidelines anymore, because we can affect the margin of victory. By actively participating, we can make a difference. So I urge all of you, let's do it. Let's get it done for our children and for the next generation of Americans. I also want to mention something very important to us. It's of the subject, not the question, about the census. Please, 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 let's all of us get counted. That's all I have to say right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Neen Ahmed.
Thank you so much, Senator Sheikh Rahman. At this time, I'd like to move on to our next panelist, Dr. Nina Ahmed. For those of you that don't know Dr. Nina Ahmed lives in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the city of brotherly love. A molecular biologist, she has earned her PhD in chemistry and completed a medical fellowship at Thomas Jefferson University. She has a very long list of accomplishments. She served as the deputy mayor for public engagement under Mayor Kenney of Philadelphia. She served 6 years as the president of the Philadelphia chapter of the National Organization for Women. And most notably, Dr. Nina Ahmed served on the President Obama's National Advisory Commission on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. She is now running for the position of Auditor General for the state of Pennsylvania. Welcome, Dr. Nina Ahmed.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you to Intishan and everybody involved, Neha and Amber, for putting this event together, and Studio 52 for hosting all of us. This is a wonderful forum, and it is great that even in these difficult times, we're being able to connect and build community and engage across the country right now, I hope. So thank you for that introduction. You know, I am the first person of color to be nominated for a statewide executive office in Pennsylvania. This is 2020, long time coming. I am the first Bangladeshi American, the first Muslim, the first scientist, lots of firsts, but I don't want to be the last. And my job is going to be to keep that door open. I just wanted to say one phrase in Bangla for those who are watching. সবাইকে অনেক শুভেচ্ছা জানাচ্ছি। আশা করি আপনারা আমাদের প্রোগ্রাম দেখছেন এবং আপনারা এই সামনে electionে সবাই যোগ দিবেন। So I just wanted to make sure people understood the importance of this election. And we just heard of the passing of the tragic loss of Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg. She was the moral conscience on that court, and we really have to make sure that we turn this country around, and we have these Supreme Court judges who are there for life, who make a lot of decisions about us. So our election is terribly, critically important. And I'll stop here. You have a question for me, I believe.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed, for your kind remarks. Over the course of your leadership in government in the past 26 years in business, conducting financial reporting and auditing, you are a firm believer in strong fiscal responsibility and management that ensures accountability that the money being allocated reflect the needs of the community being served, communities like the Bangladeshi community. As such, although the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic will most likely dominate the fiscal policy discussion of this election cycle, Joe Biden has proposed to build back better by readjusting the tax burden, retooling it to ensure that corporations and high net worth individuals are paying their fair share. For a Bangladeshi community whose per capita income and median household income is low and poverty rates are near or below the nation's average, please discuss the relative importance of the revenue generated from these proposed changes to the tax code, according to the estimates by the Tax Policy Center and Tax Foundation, and how it can be used to provide tax relief and pay for spending priorities that would save the low and middle class communities, many of whom are Bangladeshi, in comparison to another 4 years of the Trump administration.
Absolutely. This is very, very critical. You know, what Joe Biden has proposed is going to provide meaningful tax relief for working families. And, you know, as you mentioned, our communities are still struggling and are still working really hard to achieve the American dream. And we have been feeling the squeeze of stagnating wages and our ever increasing cost of living. So in order to address all of this, I think there's some key measures that are proposed in Joe Biden's plan. And one of them that would really help our families, Bangladeshi American families, is expanding the child tax credit. And that will help families through this crisis, particularly that we're facing due to the pandemic. And he will support, you know, expansion of this child tax credit. And this will include $3,600 per year per child who's under 6, and $3,000 per child who is between ages 6 and 17. You know, that can make a huge impact. And one other important thing he said is this doesn't have to come in one lump sum at the end when you file your taxes. this can come over a monthly disbursement, So I think these are the kinds of ways that at this time, particularly when they're facing the pandemic, so many people are facing evictions. People have lost their jobs. People have been ill with the virus itself, and many have passed away. My own cousin sadly died in this pandemic in New York. He was a physician. So, we have really so much to grapple with, and anything that will help is going to be a huge boon to our working families. The other thing I think he's also looking to do is give a tax credit that helps families afford health care. And he's going to make sure that no family spends more than 8.5% of their income on health insurance. And this would help that by expanding the access to refundable health premium tax credits. So there's a few other measures, and I know we don't have time to go through all of them. There's another one on childcare, which will help our working families, young families particularly, a lot. So at the end of the day, what this kind of plan says, this is a plan that sees and serves all of us, not just merely the wealthy. And I'm running on a campaign that uses the hashtag leave no one behind. And this kind of plan reflects that. It makes sure everybody's included, everybody's seen, and we are not just giving tax breaks to the wealthy, which is not trickling down, by the way. That has proven not to be true. So, I think this is an excellent plan that we should get behind. There'll be more details as we go forward and actually he takes office. But if we don't do our job, like Senator said from Georgia, we're not going to be able to enjoy all of this. And so it is our responsibility as citizens in this country. We have come here, adopted this land. It is important we give our best foot forward. And the first thing we can do is vote, because that was earned by, blood, sweat, and tears. The African American community has paved the way for us with the civil rights movement to been able to immigrate to this country, right? We had changes there. And yet we still face a lot of hostility and a lot of structural racism. So we have to dismantle all of that and do wealth building. And this plan is an excellent plan to get that far. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nia Ahmed. The next person I'm introducing is Kausar Jamal. Is a serial technology entrepreneur, mainstream political activist, a community leader, and an information technology and public safety subject matter expert. He's holding a founder and a CEO role in the Accent Technology Incorporated, which he founded in early college days. His company provides technology services and global talent to Fortune 50 to Fortune 500 companies. He lives in Silicon Valley, California, and associates him with technology, entrepreneurship, nonprofit, and political forums and groups. Mr. Kausar was also elected as the president in April 2019 for Bangladeshi American Democrat California in Coalition in California. Kausar Jamal also got inducted as a core member of newly formed Bangladeshi American for Political Action, PABA, promoted Bangladeshi American to succeed in mainstream politics. So my question to Kausar Jamal is, in 1/3 of virtual world we living in today can be credited to the significant adjustment technology and innovation in place. We have seen technology in Trump's era, in the era including net, rural broadband, online privacy, and more importantly, cyber security as we now work with home and virtual learning. Since more than 5 billion people, young and old, will be connected to the internet over 20 years doing TikTok videos. As a CEO of a technology firm in the Silicon Valley region, please share your thoughts on Biden's sense and belief at the internet in new public space and cyberspace should be driven forth to democracy in this theme. And what do you think that he has better idea on these things as this is your expertise.
Yeah, thank you for South Asian for Biden's and Channel 2052 and Itishan and Amber for being here. I hope you guys can listen to me here. So this is a very timely question, being honest. I don't know who has read the newspaper in the morning. TikTok and WeChat. TikTok and WeChat will be banned as of Sunday. There will be no download from Sunday. So you can understand we are not any better than China, where you cannot use Facebook or Google or other stuff of social media. So during the Trump time, I mean, it's just the same. Like, it's oppression on technology, I would say. So that being said, there are a lot of new innovation is needed in technology field, and I'm supporting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris' ticket is also very important for Silicon Valley because she's rooted here, and the technology hub is in Silicon Valley. So I'm sure with the Build Back Better, the economic reform that Biden and Harris tickets are promoting, and that I'm part of, I'm also helping out, we will see some good leadership here. We would see some innovation here. And during the comparison, I mean, you understand that during the Trump term, there are a lot of things going on. Muslim ban happened. That's one thing in immigration. I don't know how many of you know about H-1B, where we do especially occupation individual in technology. So Trump also has banned those right now till December. Nobody new on H-1B can come. We are a technology innovation hub in Silicon Valley. We innovate technology in the world as US, okay? If you cannot get into the global talent, who will be hurt? Silicon Valley will be hurt. More than 50% of the Silicon Valley CEOs are immigrant, to be true enough in the data that came out. You'd be amazed to know that they're all immigrant. People who are of different color, they're coming to immigrate, they're on H1. Look at the CEO of Google, look at the CEO of Microsoft. I mean, Trump is stopping innovation and good people to come to US and build a life and contribute to US economy. In the long run, if this goes on, 4 years is already gone, trust me, we will lose a lot of people, good people in research scientists, technologists, whatever way you say, and that's gonna hurt the economy of US in the long run, okay? So that being said, I mean, we need a change in Washington. We need a change in White House, and we need to be strong. And at the same time, we need to be dedicated as a Bangladeshi American to support Biden and Harris and bring back whatever Build Back economy, the concept that we have, we need to support Joe Biden and Harris. And one other thing from Silicon Valley perspective, innovation, you cannot oppress, okay? Technology, you cannot oppress. Technology oppression is Trump's thing that is going on. We need to stop that, okay? We cannot accept that. One other thing from the VP, Vice President who's running, Kamala Harris, she's rooted in, again, I'm telling you, she's rooted in Silicon Valley. I think we'll see a lot of good synergies where we can reach her, we can talk to her. She's a senator of my state itself. And we would say that the technology and innovation will thrive during the time of Biden and Harris. I would say that. Hope that answer your question. If not, go ahead and tell me.
You're muted.
Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. We're just trying to mute and unmute our devices. But I am excited to bring in our next panelist, Miss Momita Rahman. For those of you that don't know her, she's very well regarded in the Queens area. She is an immigration attorney by profession, and she has done a phenomenal job. And with that being said, I want to get into have her introduce herself as I ask her the question. As Bangladeshis, many of our loved ones immigrated to the United States for a new meaning of hope and to live out the American dream. In a Trump presidency, we have witnessed an unrelenting assault on our values and our history as a nation of immigrants. As families are torn apart at the border with an obsession to build a wall or banning Muslims and refugees from entering our country, our immigration system is under more duress than ever before as a direct result of misguided policies. Most recently, our president suspended green cards, H-1B, and other visas until January that has direct impact on our economy. As a high-profile immigration attorney, based on your experiences, what do you believe are the setback communities such as Bangladeshis face moving forward under these circumstances, and how Vice President Biden and Senator Harris plans to safeguard the security of our values we share as a nation of immigrants that will ultimately close that gap?
Thank you so much for that warm welcome, Intishan, and thank you to Channel 52, and also thank you to South Asians for Biden. First of all, I would really like to say that the passing of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is just shocking, and it really hits home how important this election is. This hits home how important it is for all of us to go out and vote, get engaged with our communities. Now, I'll talk about immigration because that is my profession and I am an immigration attorney. America cannot be made without immigrants. Our society, our businesses, our education, our culture is all comprised of immigrants. The way that Bangladeshi Americans have been impacted by the past 4 years has been terrible, but we are not alone. The immigration policies and the attacks on immigration by the Trump administration has affected every single person of color and every single person who is from a different country or who has a loved one in a different country. But one thing that is even more important to realize is that the attack on the immigration system and the laws and immigrants in general is not just about immigration, but it is about equal rights, and it is also about constitutional rights, and it is about the bedrock of our democracy. With every single law and policy that's passed, it chips away at our fundamental equal rights, and it's really been just a playground and a testing ground for this government to see how far they can go in eroding equal rights and due process for all Americans, because we know that immigrants in general tend to be lower on the bottom pole, on the totem pole of equal rights and due process, and they're trying to see just how far they can go in getting rid of these rights. That is why it is so important that we vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. This is the election of our lifetime. And when we say that this vote is to save America, I believe that so fervently in my soul that everyone has to go out and vote. Now, the past 4 years, the three things that has impacted Bangladeshi Americans in terms of immigration. The immigration attacks have meant separation, fear, and also uncertainty. Uncertainty over what will happen to the future of loved ones who are immigrating to this country, the future of workers who are trying to get their H-1B visas to come here to work for technology companies that make America strong. Fear over what will happen to immigrants who believe that they'll be rounded up and deported or have their other rights taken away and never see their families again. Separation from the ideals of what makes America strong. So with that, I really hope that everyone will understand the pressing urgency of the need to vote blue. Thank you. I hope I answered all the questions.
Thank you so much. Yes, you did indeed answered all the questions. The next person I'm going to introduce is Smith Nadia Hussain, and I'm taking emotionally introducing her because she's my very close friend. Smith Nadia Hussain, the co-founder and current board member of Bangladeshi American Women Development Initiative, BAUDI, the community initiative Empowerment Bangladeshi Women, and a girl in New Jersey. She works as the maternal Justice Campaign Director at Mom Rising, where she works on policy and advocacy around maternal health, reproductive justice, healthcare access, mass and a policy reform. And She serves on the National Board of Directors of American Civil Rights Union, ACLU. She also served in the ACLU New Jersey board, where she served as their equality officer. So Nadia, welcome. My question to you is, this is no secret that many wants to say good radiance of education Education Secretary Betsy DeVos and her boss, President Trump. Education is one of the best ways to close the racial wealth gaps and boost economic growth. It is also uh, um, in Bangladeshi households across America as we boost and rank among the highest performing and achieving students in the country. The McKinsey study shows that if low-income students have had the same educational achievement as their wealthier peers in 1998, in the next decade, they would have had 670 million in the economy. It would have helped. Can you discuss how Biden's plan for additional funding federally for public schools and the education along with the highest educational affordability and workforce training would arm and transform lower-income communities of the color with resources and compassion for from the harmful school reform published by the current administration?
Thank you so much, Amber, for that introduction. And I did want to just say really quickly that as I do serve on many leadership capacities of nonprofits, all of them are nonpartisan. So I am today, as I speak, I'm speaking on behalf of myself only and not of any of the affiliations I have outside of this call. So these are all just my personal opinions. I'm absolutely so thrilled to join you all tonight. I'm so thrilled to be supporting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I also wanted to share that I myself am running for Board of Education of my town in Bloomingdale, New Jersey. If I win this fall, I will be the first Bangladeshi American woman to ever serve as a on the Board of Education in New Jersey. And that's crazy to think in 2020 that might happen. And like you said, Nina, I don't want to be the last. I want this to be a movement. So I encourage all of us to think about running for local office. So, Amber, you brought up a very important point about how Joe Biden is going to be really investing in our public education system. What we have seen in the last 4 years is a complete divestment from our public education system, a divestment of our students and our teachers. And we need to put someone in office who will fix that, and not only fix it, but make it greater and make it better. Let me just tell you a little bit of what Betsy DeVos, the current Secretary of Education, has done in the last 4 years. She has privatized schools. So again, divesting from public education. And what that means is investing in vouchers instead by falsely claiming school choice. And instead, what they're doing is they're taking away money from our students. A continual call for deep cuts to public funding, rolling back protections on vulnerable students, including disabled students, for example, rolling back the protections we need to keep our kids safe, and also disregarding the safety of our educators in this global pandemic. She actually put out a call saying that schools should completely reopen, completely not taking into account what all of the health professionals are saying. So there is no investment also into the health and protections of our teachers. And she's also got rid of student loan forgiveness. Almost all of us have student loans. So that is another thing that she has been trying to do. Now, these are the failures of the Trump administration, the failures of Betsy DeVos. Now, what is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? What is the thing that they're going to be providing our students? First of all, universal pre-K. How many of us are struggling? We cannot afford pre-K. We can't afford preschool for our kids. That is one of his platforms, universal pre-K. Another way is also investing in school infrastructure, our buildings, our vents. Like we're really seeing that, right, with COVID. Do we have the proper ventilation systems? He is going to be investing in that, so we don't have to wait for a crisis to see that our schools are not equipped. Gun safety. Every parent, I'm a parent, I have a 5-year-old, I have a 5-month-old. I'm terrified when our children were in school about gun violence. He's going to be ensuring that high capacity magazines, assault rifles are not are going to be banned so that they are not used to hurt our children. And also expanding Title I funding. You mentioned about low-income students. Many of our Bangladeshi communities are in urban centers. And by expanding Title I funding, he'll be investing money into low-income students to ensure that they can really maximize their potential, their education potential in our country. Those are just some of the things that a Biden administration will be prioritizing. And I will say, as Bangladeshi Americans, we really, really care about education. If you care about education, you care about your children, you will vote for Joe Biden on November 3rd or by vote by mail before that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nadia. We really do appreciate you sharing that with us. Our panelists, as you can see throughout this program, have done a fantastic job sharing some of their political journeys and their public servant journeys, but more so, they've touched upon why the Biden-Harris ticket is so important this coming November. Tell a friend, make sure you get people out there for the Biden-Harris ticket. We're, I believe, less than 50 days away towards Election Day, and every vote counts in a lot of areas. Bangladeshi Americans are known to be one of the most passionate people when it comes to electing people to office. Let's showcase that passion. With that being said, we do need to get to the public portion, and we had a ton of questions come in, and I'll turn over to my colleague, Amber Hawk from Channel 52 Bangla to tell us about the first question.
So actually, we have a lot of questions, but because of the lack of time, we're just gonna take just one or two questions. The question is, COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the need of more public space and walkable urban neighborhoods. How can we build back better in our cities and towns with this mindset of COVID-19?
Yeah, it's open to everybody, whoever
Did you
wants to take it. So we could start with Dr. Nina Ahmed if you'd like.
Yeah, I was just going to underscore that I know walkability in urban areas where we have dense populations is actually a healthy alternative, right? When we reduce the number of cars that are used and we make sure our emissions and all of that add to a much cleaner environment. And what it also does is, and research has shown that it reinvests in the economy when you're not spending money on upkeep of a car and a space to keep a car. Where you live in areas where we have very little space, having separate places to house your car, the insurance you pay. And millennials, particularly, apparently 60% of millennials prefer to live in walkable cities. So I think we have a new generation coming up who are moving away from this perspective of needing a car to go to everywhere. It's healthy, not just from the clean air, it's healthy to walk. It's safer, it's a slower traffic, it is safer for our children. So in Philadelphia, actually, we have some days set aside where we shut down the entire city, the major thoroughways, and we make it open for people to walk around. And it seems to spur community, make sure there's community building that happens during that time. People seem to be friendlier and open to engaging with each other. So I think if we look at our budgets, we need to look at how we are creating these spaces because it's the will of the people, and we need to reflect that. So, we don't have time here to go into all the different, legislation we can do, all the different ways we can promote that. But I do think in urban areas where we already have a high density of people and very little space, this is really good alternative to use in terms of spurring the economy.
Thank you so much, Nadia. And anybody can unmute themselves and answer. Please feel free to unmute yourself and answer.
I was just reading on this stuff because I'm a public safety expert, so that's what I do, actually bringing infrastructure and all that. So walkable city, that's the new thing. Okay, 3 to 4 miles 5 miles, walkable city. You got to have a good grocery. You got to have a good school system. You got to have a walkable space where you can go, walk, bike. Biking is going to be a very, very important thing, like cycling, you will see. So yeah, that's going to reduce the carbon, and also walk, because with this pandemic, nowadays people don't want to travel a lot, because the more you travel, the more exposure you have with other more people, okay? And public transport is not the best option many times. So the concept on Europe I've been seeing is that what Nina was saying, exactly the same. They're doing 3 and 2. Some places they're doing 4 and 1. I would suggest 4-day work week, being honest, and do 2 and 2. But it's not possible every time in Bay Area either. But definitely walkable city where you can walk, you can jog, you can go to other places, and you can have good time around. That's the future of the city that I'm seeing from the public safety perspective.
If I may add one thing, when you talk about a walkable community in the cities growing up, you have to put something in mind. You have to think about affordability. The problem is nowadays, all these communities growing around the big cities, and people work over there, they can afford to stay. So the problem is not necessarily the building this community, how we can have a people mixture of all kind of people like community of immigrant community, Bangladeshi community, people come. I represent a community is people come from 100 different countries, speak 100 different languages, which is great. But a lot of folks on my districts are not as wealthy as some part of Georgia. So when you think about, even in my community, like 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes from my house, they used to have a neighborhood, in terms of, cleaned up and build a lot of new houses, but you can't afford, average folks can afford. So that's another thing we have to keep in mind, that we build something which is affordable for regular folks. That will be the most important issue for us.
True, very true.
Well, is there anybody else that would like to add to that? Any other panelists? Alrighty. Well, with that being said, I would like to open the floor for closing remarks, and I ask every panelist to leave it to a minute or less. I know we ran a little bit over in the program within the hour. We would definitely love to hear final thoughts from all of you. Just please 1 minute or less, and then we're going to close it out. We'll start with Ambassador Osman Siddique, and then we'll work our way to Senator Sheikh Rahman, Momita Rahman, and Kausar Jamal and Smita Nadia Hussain.
Thank you, Intishan. This has been a very learning experience for me, but it's a solemn evening also about the death of Supreme Court Justice, and that somebody else said that makes it imperative for us to double our effort to make sure that the Biden-Harris ticket wins, and in order to do that, we have to redouble our effort, and along with that, bring in all other coattail candidates. Time is of essence. We cannot take anything for granted. So let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. Thank you.
Thank you for everybody watching. This is really, really so important, this election. I cannot just overemphasize. One thing that we have to make sure, I'm not worried about people watching this program, but I'm not worried about people not watching this program. We need to reach out every single Bangladeshi around the country. We have to make sure our friends, neighbor, worker, whoever, if you are Bangladeshi, I know you have relatives all over the country, check on them, make sure they're registered, make sure, help them to get out to vote. Two things is more important, census and the vote. If we don't vote, we can go out and say that many thousands of Bangladeshi we have. But the thing is, as a politician, as a state senator, I'm going to reach out to the people who go vote for me. I mean, it doesn't matter where are you from. So thing is, we have to make sure that we register and we vote and build a political power. We have to leave Bangladesh behind, where the country we live. This is our country. We have to do it for our children, for the next generation of American. We have to think like American. We have to leave Bangladesh politics out, get involved in American politics, help the people running in this country. We have people like Dr. Nina Ahmed, Nadia over here, and we have Donna in Texas. We have a lot of folks running in this election. So I ask you, open up your wallet too. Help this candidate. Help us. We cannot just say we support our candidate. I get a lot of phone calls and say, hey, we support you, we're proud of you. If you are proud of me, proud of all the candidate, help us, show us, open up your wallet. And that will be more important. Open up your wallet, register, and go vote. Talk less, do more. Show me the action. Show me the action. Thank you very much.
Did you want me to go, Intishan? Okay. I just echo everything the senator just said. He had so much energy. What we need to do is energize our voters to make sure they not only understand what is at stake, but come joyfully to do their duty, which, as I said, was earned with blood, sweat, and tears. What he mentioned was very critical. Make sure people complete their census, because without the census, we don't get federal allocation of dollars. And that's going to end at the end of this month. So it's very critical we do that. And for making sure that your families and friends are registered, each state has its own deadline for when registration is over for voter registration. Have Zoom parties. Have, talk to your friends and family and check on each other's and say, are you registered? Do you know when your registration is? Can you check? Do you want to check your registration? Here's the site. Give the Board of Elections site for your state and help people to feel how the process works. Many people, this might be the first time they're voting. So walk them through it. Lots of these states have their in-language forms for registration and for instructions for voting by mail or voting in person. So be a resource, because everyone on this call is a leader. Everyone on this call can do something to help somebody who might feel uncomfortable. So you have your own network. Make a plan. Make sure everybody has a plan. What are you going to do? How are you going to vote? When are you going to vote? And then hold. I'm going to be Auditor General, so there's accountability. Circle back and say, did you actually do it? Make a spreadsheet. Have a Zoom party, and hold everybody accountable to go make sure they go vote. But thank you so much for having us. This was a great event.
Okay, with that being said, I don't think we have any other closing remarks.
No, I think I didn't get to go, and I think Mr. Jamal didn't get to
I was
go.
just waiting. Okay.
Go ahead really quickly, and then Mr. Jamal, maybe you can go. Everything everybody said here is really important. And one thing I really want to make clear is that our Bangladeshi community, we are absolutely on the front lines, okay, when it comes to whose livelihood is being threatened right now, who is at risk right now. So many, yes, we are Americans, the anti-Muslim sentiment that has been expounded by this president, the policies that are hurting our communities, the economic policies that are damaging us, right? This is like, the Bangladeshi community is unfortunately very much on the chopping block. We are fighting for our lives. This is an election for our lives. How many, even though we're in this country, how many of us know someone who cannot come from Bangladesh? They're able to become citizens. They got married, they want to join their family, and they're not able to because of xenophobic policies. So our community is on the chopping block. When Senator Rahman was saying to donate, that's not just a call to line or our own pockets. We're asking for you to invest. We need to invest in our own community. That means, yes, our own electeds, but also initiatives in the community. There's wonderful initiatives. There's young people in our community. They need our support. We need to uplift them, promote them. So yes, please go out to vote. Fill out your census, but also think about how we can uplift our young people, uplift our women, and put them as our leaders. Let them lead the way. We need to make space for that. That is so important. I know that the Biden campaign has been doing that, but we can do this every day in our own communities. And please vote for your lives. That's absolutely important.
Is Mamita gonna go, or I should? Mamita, did you get a chance?
Okay, so I'll go ahead and leave my closing remarks. My fervent wish is for everyone to get involved, and that means get involved by voting, register, but also get involved in your local politics, your local communities. I'm fortunate to live in New York City, where we had a spate of young Bangladeshi American men and women run for local political office. And let me tell you, representation matters. I want my son to grow up to see brown faces in office. We don't have a lot of brown faces right now, and I'm very happy to see on this panel so many of you who are already holding office or running for it. But representation matters, and do everything you can. You could go, you can volunteer as a poll worker. I belong on the board of LOL New York City, which is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to uplifting Bangladeshi women in New York. They are dedicated to putting a Bangla-speaking poll worker at every polling location in their neighborhood possible. Take little actions like these. These little steps help keep you involved and help preserve this democracy.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to be very short and echo the same thing everybody said. But the one other thing is that let's get united. All of us need to be united. Unity is the most important thing. Let's connect as a Bangladeshi community, bring the young professionals at the same time. Do not leave out the older people, okay? Age doesn't matter when it comes to voting, remember. So one other thing that I would say that Mr. Senator Sheikh Rahman said, we need to start donating. We need to put our wallet to work. We cannot just say, I support Nina and Donna and not get our $20, $50, $100 out. I'm sorry. I understand pandemic is there. I understand economy. I run a business. I understand that. But we can help. Honestly, a little bit can help. If we can't help, let our friends ask for help, okay? Less like people like Etishan, Momita, Nadia, Amber, these are the young generation that we are seeing. They will change. They will be the leader in the future. Okay, so our platform should be helping everybody who's in the mainstream politics and who wants to join politics. I would only say one thing, BAPA. That's the reason we formed Bangladesh American Political Action. We want to bring the young generation Bangladeshi and the Bangladeshis running for office into mainstream politics and help them. Okay, Indians have done it. You see Kamala Harris where she is. I'm not going to go into detail on that. You have 17, 18 people in Congress in Indian origin, and we don't have very less. I'm not going to compare into that, but let's have our own people also. Let's work together and at the same time be there for each other. And it's not a destination. It's a journey. It's a journey. Let's take it. One day we show up. Today we did the call, and tomorrow 44 days we are not doing anything. I'm sorry. That's not what we need. Next 45 days, let's get our people united. Let's talk about census. Let's talk about election. Let's go talk to the community, bring community together. What Nina said, Zoom meeting or social media, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you call the TV. Let's everybody get united. And at the same time, this has been a pleasure being here. And it's a terrific team. If we all unite, I think we can make a difference. I would say that.
Thank you so much, everyone. I really want to thank on behalf of the Channel 52 and Intisham, my colleague, for joining us. It was amazing. And you guys are absolutely right. This is the time to build up the strength. And thank you again. This is my humble gratitude for having all of you guys. And the future is, limitless. So having said this, I'm going to, give the floor to Neha, the director. Go ahead, Neha.
Thank you so much. And wow, what an amazing and engaging panel. Honestly, this is speaking volumes for the Bangladeshi community, and we sure hope that we can count on the Bangladeshi community with respect to this election. So hopefully you can join the Bangladeshis for Biden National Council mailing list, as well as the South Asians for Biden mailing list, where you can learn about different opportunities in terms of how to get involved. We have recurring phone banks that are happening Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You take your pick, you figure out what time works for you and make it happen. If you're not able to do a phone bank, you can write postcards. You can do a postcard writing session with your grandchildren and make it a fun activity. If you're not able to write postcards, as was mentioned, you could be a poll worker. If you can't be a poll worker, you can absolutely vote. And that's the most important. This is truly the most important election of our lifetime at this point. We have our civil rights, our reproductive rights, our religious freedom, our health, our security, our allyship around the world, education, safety, everything is on the line. And with the passing of Justice Ginsburg, the stakes are higher. So if there's nothing else that you can do, please vote. But I would encourage you to also, just besides casting the vote yourself, take a commitment. Pick 5 people, whether it's friends or family in your community, that you are going to make sure are also going to go to the polls, because that's equally important. We want to make sure that we bring our brothers, sisters, uncle, aunts, whoever it is, along with us. So folks, this truly is the most important election of our lifetime. We have 44 days to go. There are things for you to do, ways for you to get involved, and we are here waiting for you to help you in any way we can. But if nothing else matters, bring 5 people with you and please vote. So with that, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening and please stay safe. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.